And going live. And let's see. So we are going live. Just making sure we're connecting.
I would love a minute of you and I being still or waving that I can put on my Instagram, because every time, never mind.
All right, hang on. Let me take care of some. All right. Just taking care of a couple little things here. All right. So, all right, Natalie, we can just smile for a moment.
Yes. Okay, let me take a picture one more time. Okay, good.
Okay. So thank you everybody for humoring us on that. Natalie wanted a different shot for the start for hers. So here we are. So obviously I am Amalia Natalio with Madeline Parker, and we are here with you all for the cosmic chat for this Aries new moon total solar eclipse. And holy guacamole, are you all feeling it the way Madeline and I are?
I'm
just
definitely feeling it.
Curious. Please, if you're joining us live at any point, drop in some comments, drop in some thoughts, share some experiences. We can use that as part of what we share. I am not going to dive too deeply into the astrology that much, but I do have a number of other energetic reads, maybe energetic forecasts or intuitive nudges that I'd like to share with folks to kind of set the stage for the new moon in Aries. Obviously, Aries is the beginning of the zodiac. It's the start with the new moon. It's a new beginning, and we're starting a fresh astrological year. And so, this is such a beautiful time to consider intentions, but also recalling the past, really accessing the lessons and the gifts that the past has brought to us. So to give you some of the basics about this eclipse, it's happening on April 8th at 2:20, 2:21 p.m. Eastern. It's at 19 degrees. And that's significant because we've got the sun and the moon are 19 degrees. I think Mercury is at 19 degrees. And there's a lot of planets you're going to see on Madeline's chart clustered together, with the exception of Pluto, that's a little further out, but not too far out. And so there's a lot of energy in one section of the chart, which we're all feeling on some level, and to some degree. The one thing that I also find very interesting too with a total solar eclipse is the energy of a total solar eclipse is a little bit different than a partial, because it's literally the moon moving in front of the sun. And so from the Earth's perspective, the sun is blocked. The light is hidden from us. And the one thing that's fascinating about this particular eclipse is that we are going to be able to see it in the United States. So I actually wanted to share my screen with you all, because I found this map that I thought was rather interesting, so that you could see exactly where it's moving. So it starts in Mexico and then makes its way north across the United States and then up into Canada. And if you look here, you see this other line. It's almost like a big X across the US. That was I think they called it the Great American Eclipse or something back in 2017. It was August 21st, 2017, as a matter of fact. And that was a huge to-do. That was a really big deal. I remember and this was before I even realized that with eclipses, it's not really meant to be, with any new moon, in my opinion, it's a very inward process. It's a time to go and reflect on your own inner journey. And we had a little party at my house. Like, my family and I went outside and we had wine and we had some little nibbles. And, I realize now that was probably the opposite of what the energy is calling us to do. And my life at that point, there was a lot of change going on. So I just wanted to share this so everyone could kind of see the trajectory of this eclipse, and maybe reflect on, what's changed in your life since 2017, because it's significant, because it's moving across the US. So I just thought that was fascinating to be able to see how it's going through Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. All of those, some of those cities in those states are going to be able to see this completely. It's going to be a total solar eclipse for them. Other areas of the country will see it, but it won't be a total from the viewpoint. And this also is going to be a longer eclipse than in 2017. So in 2017, it was 2 minutes and 40 seconds at its longest point, which was in Illinois. And it's going to be 4 minutes and 28 seconds in Mexico at its longest point. And so what that tells us is that this energy is going to be, it's like there's an intensity to it. There's a really strong invitation to go within for a period of time, to sit in the silence, to sit in the stillness, to sit in the darkness. And it's a reminder that even though there is darkness, when we go through these dark periods of our lives, there's also light on the other side, just like the eclipse shows us. There's also a reminder of like, we're part of such a bigger world than what we think. I mean, if you think about who can see this eclipse and what's happening, that we're literally seeing the moon move across the sun from our vantage point, and we can see that happening. The two luminaries in the sky. It's so cool. Like, to me, it's just the neatest thing to consider that we're part of a cosmos where something like that happens and we can see it and be part of it. And there's also, to me, an awareness of cycles, a reverence for the natural cycles that exist in our universe, and to follow those cycles. If what I noticed when I was out, which was not the ideal thing for me to do, but great in terms of learning from that in 2017, it was totally silent because all the animals are in their burrows or tucked away someplace, because they know it's not a time to be out. It's not a time to be engaging. It's really a time to be with yourself, be in your own inner world. So that's my invitation to everyone, is use those few minutes as a pause. Use those few minutes to close your eyes and maybe connect with your heart, connect with your divine presence, connect with a higher power, write out some insights that you receive, and maybe come up with a plan to creatively express them, or to let go of them, or to make space for the new intentions that you set. And setting intentions on that new moon, I would say, is not advisable. Wait until you start to see the light of the moon before planting those seeds. But it's just such a beautiful time of slowing down. Do not rush this energy. This is not, even though Aries is typically a very rush, let's go, initiatory energy, this is calling us to take a pause before we initiate and be with the energy of the eclipse, and just allow the wisdom that's available to us to come through. So just a few of my little insights from just tuning into the energy, just looking at some of the path of it. For those of you who are a part of my email list, I'm going to drop a link for where you can have a couple of resources that might be useful for people if they want to learn a little bit more. If you'd like to sign up, send me a little note, drop a comment. I'll add you to the list.
Not on your email list. You got to put me on your email list.
You're not on it, Melanie?
No. Are you on mine?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, I'm not on yours. I would.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to add you.
Hey.
Holy smokes. So anyway, yeah, so that's kind of the pulse of what I see is going on. Now, Madeleine, I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about the astrology specifically. I looked at it and it seems just really intense, really intense.
Yeah, well, you were bringing up about being outside on this eclipse. This is not an eclipse to watch. It's actually kind of a dangerous eclipse. It's hitting at the fixed star of Caton, something like that. I can't pronounce it very well, which is very much about accidents. And then the nakshatra, or the fixed star that Saturn and Mars are, which are the ruling planet. Well, Mars is the ruling planet of this eclipse, is also in a Pisces constellation, or actually it's an Aquarius constellation, but it's on a fixed star that is also accident prone. And we just saw, and it's with water, travel, air, and it's Mercury is also on this eclipse. And unless you know your chart really, really well, that you know that you don't have any challenging aspects from this eclipse to your chart, it's better to not watch it, because it'll intensify your transit. It'll intensify what you've got going on in your chart. So, like, you know, and this is a slightly dangerous eclipse. You do not want to travel on this eclipse. One of my astrology teachers had some challenging aspects on a major eclipse, and they knew that it was dangerous, and they thought they were going to die. He thought he and his wife were going to die because they both had these challenging transits. Well, they went out on a bike ride and got hit by a truck. So,
wow.
Yep. The eclipses, people think I'm like super superstitious when around town I'm going, do not drive, and they think, oh, I'm just being superstitious. And it's really, it's not safe to travel on an eclipse. So basically what's happening is you're getting a reset, an energetic reset. So if you're going outside or looking at it, what happens is, this is why the animals don't watch eclipses. Your frequency rate in your energy field gets deleted. It's like, let's say you have credit in your bank account and it's gone. It's like, that's what an eclipse does, because it's resetting your energies for another thing. So you want to maintain the energies that you have and then go up. So that, and the Native Americans always used to either be by water or under a bridge, because they were under something, because they couldn't, they were outdoor livers. So it isn't, I've seen bad things happen to people who watch eclipses. So
well,
I don't recommend it.
The other thing too is, like, okay, people have to go to work, they have responsibilities and things. So it's just
If you
be
have
careful,
to do it,
add a little extra time. I mean, I've got a couple of appointments that day. And so I'm just going to add in extra time and be very careful and aware when I'm out driving.
You'll probably be fine, but when I was studying the eclipse, and I can see how tough it is, I'm not going anywhere that day.
Yeah.
So plus I do have it squaring my Mercury so that's, Mercury is travel, so I'm not traveling.
Well, and Mercury's also in retrograde, so there's that part of it too, where you've got that energy somewhat working.
And Mercury retrograde can cause kind of a confusion in your travel, because Mercury represents short distance travel. It represents local travel. So there is, communication fumbles, mechanical upsets, like technological upsets can occur during Mercury retrograde. So, and the ruling planet of this, everything's being ruled by Mars, which is a sort of in a debilitated energy. It's in the sign of Pisces. It's not in its strength very much. So Saturn is conjoining Saturn, which is more powerful in this eclipse, which indicates really big, and also the eclipse is happening in the nakshatra of Revati, which is the last nakshatra. So we're really seeing major endings and major new beginnings, because Revati, that nakshatra ends at 0 degrees Aries, which is in Vedic. So that is literally the last degree of the zodiac and the first degree of the zodiac. So in other words, it's totally like the real beginning of the new year is the first new moon of the spring. So this would be technically the new year, even though the sun went into Aries, which is the new year. But technically, the new moon signifies the beginning of the new year, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So this is I think for many people, like that boat crash, what we're seeing when you come around eclipse time is, the power went out, and then they lost all rudder control, and then it hit the bridge. So basically, eclipses are, it's in motion, something's in motion. That is not right. That is out of alignment, because this is an Aries eclipse, which means mind, ego, the head. So what throws us off course in life, and it's harder than I can talk about it, but it's harder to do than say. But the more connected we are with our intuitive center guidance and our intuitive nature, the better we are across the board, right? So Aries being ego, Aries being the mind, we're getting a collapsing of that. We're collapsing of what we think, where we've been efforting, where we've been taking action that has been ego-based, that is self-will. Also, so we're going to see some sort of redirect, some sort of, the soul is going to be the determiner. The soul now becomes the guidance, the guider. In other words, the soul truth path, because we have the nodes very close. Of course, eclipses always have the nodes near there. So basically what we're going to be doing is course correcting from our strong head, very strong will, where that has been out of alignment. So it can be really like, if you're in the wrong job, you're in a job because you think it's secure, but it's not your soul destiny. You're in a relationship, you're very strong willed to be in this relationship. You think that person is like bells and whistles, but they're not your soul, true soul tribe or whatever. Then you've got, and so it depends. We're going to go through all that on all the 12 signs, and we're going to see where it is that we are each being course corrected. Because the other thing that's happening at the same time is within orb of this eclipse is the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction. So the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is within orb. So people are going to start feeling that transit. And that's a huge thing that's happening. That's going to exact on April 20th. And, we'll be throwing in some talk about that as well. And that, but now I don't want to be completely negative about this eclipse. And there is a lot of negative about it because it's dangerous. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I don't like that, but we don't want to be sugar coated here. We want to be safe. So forewarned is forearmed. So the negatives of this eclipse is this accident energy that's going on.
Yeah.
But that is the way the energy of the universe works, because when it's going to shoot in really powerful energy that causes change, that energy can be flown into the wrong direction. So you want to watch where that energy goes. And this is a Aries energy, so it's self-will. And a solar eclipse is something happens to us out in the world, and a lunar is internal, that emotionally we make a transformation, right? So things are going to happen. Things are going to explode in our faces. Shit hits the fan somewhere. So you want to be proactive in this eclipse, and you might be feeling it now. You may be feeling like, I'm good, but I ran to the bank today because I was worried because I lost my checkbook, and I suddenly freaked out, and I thought, wow, maybe somebody finds my checkbook. And I, so I'm very proactive. I'm very making sure everything's safe, everything's secure. So I ran to the bank, make sure. So you want to be very proactive in these eclipses. But again, this is major new beginnings. You don't really want to begin anything new with this Mercury retrograde. It was funny that you said that earlier. You were talking about the past. So the fact that Mercury is in on this, and Chiron, we are going to see issues from the past, like you said, come back up that haven't been healed. And also it's on the, I forget which one it was. Maybe it's the lunar mansion. Yes. Where conflicts are resolved, where we find solutions. And this could be relationships from the past or situations from the past where we break through some ego defense. Our ego is a real problem.
Well, how about that? It can create problems for us if we let it.
Yeah.
It really can.
And all of our problems are ego-based. If we did not have any ego, we'd be fine. We'd be like the animals. That's why we want to watch the animals. They don't have ego. They're connected. They have they have head and heart locked. We were given self-will, so we were divided head, heart. We had to choose, elect through whether we follow the intuitive knower. And we have to effort to do that,
And we also make up stories that create bigger problems.
We lie to ourselves. We tell all kinds of things. We think, oh no, we just lie to our own selves. Like, oh, this is not a problem. I'm just going to tell a different story in my head.
Yes. And animals don't do that.
No, they're connected. That's why you want to follow the animals on an eclipse, and you will notice it is dead silent.
They do not hang out. Well, the other thing I wanted to just piggyback off of what you were saying, Madeline, because I feel like this would be helpful for people. You were talking about, the energy of Aries, that willful nature of Aries. And it's, to me, I kept hearing willful to soulful. We're moving from this willful energy, this pushing to get what we want, or to create this thing that we know we have to have or we have to do. And instead of flowing with and following our soul. So moving from a willful approach to a soulful approach, knowing that it's going to work out as long as you're kind of, as long as you're flowing with what is destined for you.
Well, these eclipses will knock you off the path that is not going to work out for you.
Exactly, which is great because then
Yep.
you know.
That's
So when you
right.
get knocked off, oh,
There's a
dang.
benefit, yes. And this
Yeah.
is actually a very abundant. There's a lot of, in my research about it all, there's some very, very abundant money. The nakshatra that the Mars and Saturn are on is super abundant and successful. So there's a lot of really good abundance here. So in this eclipse, but it's interesting if you go spiritual, because Mars and Saturn are in a very spiritual sign. Purvada, I can't pronounce it, but it's very spiritual. And I'll tell everybody here in a big warning, if you read about Kali Yuga and you read about what's going on in the world and how we're evolving as humanity, the more spiritual you are, and I don't mean religious, because religious, again, could be very head, right? The more you find a spiritual soul connection to your spiritual path, and you find spiritual wisdom, this is a nakshatra of spiritual wisdom, the more your survival, we're going to be able to transform into the new age very well, because the new age is highly spiritual, because spiritual is about the non-material. Because if we're so focused on the material, people think that to create abundance is to focus on the material. But the truth is, as above, so below. Your spiritual state is what determines your abundant state.
Mm-hmm.
People are waking up to that with the 420 thing that's coming. It's going to be a big spiritual awakening. That's what we're looking at. So where have we been too material, too headstrong to create material outcome in our life? And where we're now going to release that, where you're going to be forced to release an attachment to something, because it's an ending energy. And you're going to find a spiritual upgrade, spiritual evolution. We're evolving spiritually in this eclipse. And our survival is and being astrologically literate, like in these times, is the best thing you can do for yourself, because the divine, literally the scripture for all to see, is in the stars. Like religion has it all written. The Bible's kind of corrupt. There's a lot of, you can't really necessarily 100% rely on stuff that's been tampered with by the human hand, but you can, and astrology is for all to see. There isn't one leader, there isn't one master, there are many that you can learn from, but you having astrological what do I call it, literacy, is the best thing anyone can do for themselves during this time. And knowing your chart, knowing yourself, because your chart guides you to a spiritual path. Most do. Some people have a very material chart. That's okay. Their spiritual soul needed to learn how to materialize more material. But the most important thing in these energies is to find your spiritual practices, spiritual like learn the new practice, ground, all these things, because the more we are following the wisdom of the astrology, the more your abundant future is stable. That's the truth. I've heard it from so many people recently. I have a lot of astrology teachers that I listen to, and interestingly enough, like even if you don't necessarily see it in your chart that you're an astrologer or that's who you are, most anybody in history that has ever done anything really major to progress humanity has had a base knowledge in astrology, because astrology pushes us to our true potential, shows us the path. And so these eclipses will create a crisis in your life if you're way off path. But then you're going to see and in April in general, it is better just to meditate the whole month. Just meditate.
Yeah, April is
yeah.
a bit of a doozy energetically for people.
Yeah.
Even just taking astrology out of it, I think a lot of people have felt it coming, this culmination almost of energy that's been building up for a little while, and it doesn't mean that it's going to be disastrous. It just means that it's an opportunity. I always look at these as opportunities to make different choices, opportunities to get to know ourselves better through meditation, like you were saying, and astrology as well, Madeline. I mean, I feel like that's a great plug for you as far as the work that you're doing and the classes that you're sharing with people, and allowing them an opportunity to understand a little bit more about the basics of astrology so that they know somewhat what's going on. I feel like Chiron for a lot of people, particularly if you are in your, around 50 years old, it's important for you to be looking at Chiron.
Yeah, you're having a Chiron return. A lot of people that I read for right now are having Chiron returns, and I'm like, do not do anything that day. They're hitting it. High Chiron is a couple people right on their Chiron.
Well,
So
I'm one of them. So
oh, interesting. I'll be
yeah.
curious to know what happens. Yeah, so that's going to be some sort of deep healing, some sort of again with that Mercury retrograde, something from the past that hasn't been resolved, that hasn't been healed, that needs to come up and be healed, because we can't bring junk with us. You can't bring your junk in your home with you. You can't bring junk inside your energy field. You can't bring junky relationships. I mean, that's what that last Libra eclipse did, was we let go of stuff that just wasn't Venus anymore, that isn't enhancing our lives and making it beautiful, as it were. Should I share now? Are we?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the chart.
Yeah, and let's take a look here. So yeah, we have all these planets bunched up together, very that really intensifies the energy. If you look at the sun as a 4, wait, no, the sun is 2, and each planet is a 1 point. You give the sun 2 points, you give your ascendant 8 points, and your moon 4. So if you give each, so you add all those numbers together, you get the level of intensity in that one area. So that's a lot of intensity there in Aries. We're in whatever house, we're going to go through all the 12 houses. We're going to go through all the 12 houses and see. But what this is doing, Aries is action. So this is action. We're going to be taking action. Not like the last eclipse, which was more emotional centered, that we may have had an emotional response to somebody or did something emotionally. I went through something emotional around my mother. This eclipse is going to be action oriented, busy. Even though we're supposed to be low key, you may not be able to be in some way. You may have to react to something and take action, because Mars is the depositor of the eclipse. And but again, the more you're going to enter into this, you're going to take action, but it's going to be based on something that is more spiritually soul aligned. And so here's the thing to look at. Watch. So we've got this Jupiter, we've got Pluto is sextiling Venus, which is great. That's a really good energy on this eclipse. So there's some really good energies as well. So, and Venus in Vedic is going to be on really close to Neptune, right? Well, actually, sorry, that it's off of Neptune, but before the eclipse, a couple of days, we're going to have Venus on Neptune in its exaltation of Pisces. So that's a very abundant, very romantic. A lot of people who broke up in relationships through ego battles will come back together. A lot of divine twin flames are going to come into union right now, or within this window period, depending on where you are in your healing of your codependency issues, etc., that we talked about. So we've got that Venus and Neptune conjoining, which is beautiful energy, lovely, wonderful. So there's a lot of good stuff. So we've got this sextile too. Saturn is going to sextile Jupiter on a wide sextile. You can't really see it here, but it's there. It's a supportive energy. It's again an open door flow energy, but again, it works with that spiritual energy. The more flow water you go, the better. I got my river behind me.
That's right.
Actually, I think it's called the river, something, ebb and flow of the water, ebb and flow. So you want to be more ebb and flow. But so when you go to act in response to whatever shows up that needs to be acted upon, go with flow, go with water, go spiritual, ask guides to guide, go intuitive, and be relaxed always. And what else can we talk about? Well, we understand eclipses are destiny shifting. I would say that most people, this eclipse is going to put you in your dream path on what you really want anyway, that your ego is making you do, thinking you got to go this way to get that. And the universe is going to say, no, you didn't have to go that way to get that. It's right here. It's in you. It's that Wizard of Oz kind of deal where it's within you already. I never understood that, but now I do. Anyway, so I think that's about really, I know it feels like there's more to say about it, but
well, I mean, I feel like we talked a lot about the energy beforehand, even. I mean, this just shows people on the chart exactly what we were talking about. And so
so everybody, we're going to look at everybody's these three houses, whatever their Taurus, Aries, and Pisces houses are in. So when you get these planets, I was going to tell you, when you get all these planets bunched together, it's like a bazooka. It's like more energy. Like if you had a bazooka or just a little water pistol, that's just one little planet by itself putting out energy. And now we got all of them. So we got this big energy coming out, like all the planets together in this one section of everybody's chart. So we're going to be looking at all those three houses because that's where things are shifting. That's where the big change is happening. That's where and by the way, these are not little changes. These are changes that will last for 50, 30 years, long term. This is a Saturn. A lot of in fact, when I open, let me open up that little picture because it shows Saturn. This is a lot of, well, the eclipse is ruled by Mercury in the nakshatra of Mercury. So a lot of communication, a lot of figuring stuff out, like post, and it is hitting in the energy of Mercury. This is very mercurial. So we're going to be a lot of communication, a lot of talking, people out of the blue coming in, surprising with that Uranus Jupiter conjunction, surprising communications from the past, people from the past, or ideas or opportunities from the past coming back that your ego created problems around, our ego, collective ego. So yeah, it has a Mercury domineering energy, but Mars and Saturn are in Saturn energies.
So what do you mean by that, Madeline?
Well, what happens is the nakshatras are ruled, like Revati nakshatra is ruled by Mercury. And this is happening in the Revati nakshatra, but also in this picture, let me show you. In this picture here, it shows that, so you're looking at the decans, because in astrology you have 3 decans, 10 to 10, then to 20, and then to 30.
Yeah.
1 to 10. Here we go. So here are the 3D. Here we are in the energy of Aries, and you can see the 3 decans, 1, 2, and 3. So this is hitting at 19 degrees. So it's in the second decan, which is Mercury. They call it a Mercury, there's a word for it, and it's blocking my head. Anyway, it's in the Mercury section of that part of the chart, that part of Aries ruled by Mercury.
Okay.
And
yeah.
Also the nakshatra is a Mercury ruled nakshatra. But then we have everything happening here in this third decan in Pisces with the Mars and the Saturn. And that is a Jupiter Venus in between, but the nakshatra it's in is Saturn ruled.
Right.
So it gives it a heavy, serious, it's a serious eclipse. Very serious. We're making serious choices. These are long, it's important, that energy there. So
I forget what that chart is called, because there's one like that array mandala when you're looking at human design.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it's very similar to that, slightly different, slightly different symbology on it, some of the same, some different, but so it's very interesting. Would you know what they're called? For anyone who might be interested?
I'm blanking. I have this whole eclipse squaring my Mercury, and my mind is like, whoa.
Maybe tune in next time, and
yes,
we'll share the info with anyone who's
but here's the interesting thing. So here is in the energy of Pisces. So here it is in the third decan, and that's the tarot card of the 9 of Cups, which is beautiful, dream come true. It's a really nice nakshatra as well. And then here in the tarot card is the 3 of Wands. So it's about the future. So it's like we are going to a future that we dream, that our soul dreams of. And it's around communication. Lots of communication in this story. So
that's fabulous. All right. So I guess we'll get started with Aries and
Oh, the first sign, yeah, of the zodiac. So let's go to, I just have to set that up because,
okay. And as Madelaine's doing that, I will be doing the flower power support. I'm using the flower therapy deck by Doreen Virtue and Robert Reeves. This go around, I used this last eclipse. It seemed like it would be nice to follow that. Shout out to my dear friend Carol, who allowed me to use her deck. I don't even think this one's in print anymore, but
let's take a look at it. Let me see what it looks like. Sorry, I was looking at the chart. I didn't
well,
realize.
here are the
I guess I
cards.
could
They're really
wait.
pretty, and I like the gold edging, even though it's super dangerous for the people that
Love
make
it.
them. They look pretty.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to start with, I'm on the 8th here, so let's go to hours. Let me just get Aries on the
Yeah,
ascendant
so we're
here.
Aries. We're looking at first house, obviously.
Yep.
I mean,
So your identity changes in the first house. When you have new moons, Aries, whenever you have a new moon or a full moon in your first house, you literally like change your identity. People, you're completely different. I mean, when I pull cards right now in a couple Aries, I get the 10th card over and over, which is their ego dying. Aries are probably going through some mega ego death because they're the worst of these. I don't mean that negatively, but let's just say it this way: they're the most potent of the strong-willed. They can be, they're the ram, you know, they've got that head thing going on. They're very
yeah,
strong-willed, which is great. We need that, you know, it's not a bad thing. It's Aries. But they are going to meet with some sort of major ego death. And so it depends how in tune you are to your soul's destiny, then less so. The more operative you are in what you think. Ego is not that they're just that I think I'm so big. Ego can also be that you don't see yourself as good as who you are. Like lower self-esteem can be ego as well, right? Or low perception of self. It's all ego.
that's a great distinction to bring up, Madeline, because I
Yeah.
think most, well, I'm making an assumption, but I feel like most people, when they think ego, they think a big ego and full of themselves or whatever,
Mhm.
arrogance, that sort of
Yeah.
thing, when really it can also be a small one where you don't really see yourself as you truly are. I
Mhm.
love that you brought that up.
Yeah, it's basically what you think instead of how you feel.
Yeah.
Doing what you think rather than what intuitively feels in alignment, you know, for you. Okay, so well, yeah, I mean, you know, wow, just let's just do this for Aries, man. We gotta this. I mean, I suppose we'll do it for everybody, but gee whiz, this is April 8th. Holy manoli. Oh, okay, the ascendant. I'm gonna take out the ascendant here for one sec. Um, we don't need these in. Well, we leave the MC. Oh, wait, we'll take that out. Okay, so we can just get a pure vision here. So basically, you guys look at that. I mean, this is all in your first house. Your destiny is completely changing. You're rerouting your path completely. I mean, I'm most Aries, I would think by now you can see something, unless it is a crisis that comes in and drives the change. That hasn't happened yet. That'll happen around the eclipse. And then you've got all these planets in your 12th house. You've got the Mars and the Saturn there. So you're really clearing some karmic resistance, some karmic fear, but also perhaps there's been karma in the way of you in other words, you haven't been ready for your path yet. Because of karma clearing that has to happen.
Yeah.
So I would say there's a big spiritual transformation coming in and a more awakening. I really did hear something really crazy from somebody about their Aries husband. This is a friend of mine. She's married to an Aries rising. And he always thinks all of this is just a bunch of baloney. And he's just like, none of it's true. And apparently now he's kind of getting into it a little bit. Like he's sort of believing in it. So it's like, you could see spiritual awakenings for Aries 100%. That's going to happen in these energies, right? Some sort of death of the ego, which is going to be more spiritual. And then, but there is a karmic element for Aries. And it's going to be releasing of some old patterns that are based in karmic fear, past life trauma choices that you've brought into this life that have been purged out of you that will now finally be purged because there's this new level, this new beginning. You're leaving that behind.
Well, one thing
So
I want to mention too,
sure.
I have a client that I'm thinking of that relates to this too, is it could be that the purging has already taken place. And now this is the time for that integration. Now it's like all the, the chips have fallen. Now you're picking them up and setting them where they need to go. And you're forging that new path forward. It doesn't necessarily mean that it might, but it doesn't necessarily mean that something else is coming down the pike to smack you. It may be that it's
Right.
happened and now it's just
Already,
yes.
very possibly. Yep.
Yeah.
It's just not a great feeling. Having Saturn in your 12th house feels crappy. I mean, it's a funky energy. So it feels heavy and hard, and you're repenting. By the way, that cross hits in Rapture, the town of Rapture. So everybody wants to repent as much as you can, because that's what we're doing. We're clearing our past shames. That's a very shame energy to have Saturn in your 12th. There's a lot of shame energy for Aries that they're purging and clearing right now. So, you know, but that's going to go, that's going to pass. And then you're going to have Saturn in your first house soon, where you do initiate, you grow up. There's a big maturation occurring for Aries here.
Yay. So are we
Yeah.
ready for the flower?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So for Aries, we have the wisteria. The message is time to decide, make a decision now so you can move forward. And I mean, that's pretty much Aries, in my opinion. Aries is about moving forward. They have all those planets there, allowing them to kind of get themselves ready to create a whole new self, a whole new way of engaging with their life and experiencing life. So, and I love this too, because it's got a little bit of purple and a little bit of white. So it's almost this pure energy that's coming in, this transformational energy with the purple. You have the divine support, and it's a fresh, you know, like a fresh start. It just feels,
well, you know, purple
nice.
is the color for the 12th house. It's the color of Jupiter. The 12th house is ruled by Jupiter, or it's Neptune, and the color for Jupiter is purple. So that's good color for that.
Yeah, it's in tune. So, okay, Taurus.
All right, moving along to Taurus. So Taurus people, wow. I mean, I just don't know what to say to you guys, because I mean, you've got this Uranus Jupiter conjunction hitting in your first house. I mean, it's like you guys are going to have some kind of major liberating. It's happening at about 19 to 20 degrees, the same degree point of this eclipse. So any planets anybody has within 15 to 25 degrees are going to be hit by both of these transits, on either trined or squared or sextiled or something, or oppositional or something. And so there's going to be, Taurans are, I mean, I'm fascinated to see what happens to the lives of Taurans. So they're going to have the eclipse in their, Aries is in their 12th. So they're going to have the eclipse in their 12th house. And Taurans are a fixed sign. They don't like change. They get stuck in their fixedness, though. They don't like it necessarily. They feel a bit bored by it. They get, you know, but they create a lot of security for themselves, which is great. But now I think that's going to get rattled up. I think the way Taurans have, there's a karmic fear base with that Aries thing, and there's this karmic, very big placement there of a lack of trust in God or the divine to provide, because that's what happens with a Tauran. That's why they don't want to shake it up, because they've got everything. They've got all their ducks in a row. They've got their income stabilized and everything, and they don't want that rattled up. They like to keep their life nice and stable for that. Well, the universe might be saying, rattle it up, you're safe, but you might be too fear-based in that. Creating that stability or that stagnancy might be kind of fear-based. So this is why you're having the Aries eclipse in your 12th house, which could be travel, long distance travel, getting you off your static seat on some level, and bursting out of some sort of fear, because you've got that you're liberating yourself from some sort of limited way of living by your own choice, by your own sort of repressed hand, as it were. So now the universe comes in and says, no, it's time for you to bust out of your fear-based karmic trauma, past life trauma situation. Because, you know, Taurus, Scorpio, there's a relationship there. So there's some sort of like going against your intuitive nature, because you're intuitive. Sometimes, see, this is confusing. Sometimes you got to always listen to your intuitive nature, but sometimes there's a comfort choice you make that's just comfort, that you keep doing, that you just feel safe in choosing. Well, that's going to get rattled. It's like, no, this is a scary, a risky. Oh, the whole eclipse is everybody taking more risks. It's ruled by Mars. So it's like you're going to get out of that comfort, fear-based zone that you needed to create from your past life trauma, because Aries over your 12th, that you now feel ready to break out of. Feel ready to risk, feel ready. In other words, it sounds really corny because I'm not religious, and I just use God because God is just an easy word and everyone knows, but I'm not like super religious or anything. But anyway, basically you believe in God. Like, this is where you then trust. because it was a lack of trust that's keeping you so safe. So now you believe, now you take the risk, now you get out there, now you travel, now you go out there, you explore, you go spiritual. The 12th house is very spiritual. So you're awakening to the confidence and journey that you can take now that you have cleared away that fear of financial stability or living stability. So it's going to be interesting for Taurans this whole month. I mean, you're going through radical changes. They're the most, Aries and Taurus, the most
I will
changes.
say, I have a son who's Taurus, and it's, he's been in a place of following his own comfort level versus going out and doing something because he's here to make an impact. He's here to make a difference. I mean, we all are, but he in particular has got this innovator type of energy to his chart, and it's almost like he's held himself back a little bit. I think you said something about, they have a limited way of living based on their own choices.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very true. Now,
Yeah.
I also believe that our words they carry power, and the words that we choose to speak, the thoughts that we think, are almost like spells that are creating our life. They're influencing the frequency of our life experience. And the flower that came out for Taurus was the daffodil. And to me, daffodils are one of the prime flowers that signify spring. The daffodils pop up, at least where I used to live in Virginia, and that was one of the first signs that spring had sprung. So this feels really like a fresh start, a new beginning, a rebirthing in a way for Taurus. And it says, share the message of love. And Taurus too, they're they can be so loving. They're ruled by Venus, so it's love and beauty and all of the material goodness that life has to offer. But they haven't allowed themselves to experience that fully, to really trust that it's available to them. And then at the bottom, it just talks about, be mindful of each word that passes your lips. So before you speak, really feel into what you're saying. Is it really aligned with what you want to create and who you really truly feel yourself to be? Or are you following some old story that doesn't apply to you anymore? Can you expand your mind? Can you expand your imagination enough to envision a future that really is what you desire? I think that's another thing that a lot of people, regardless of sign, have trouble doing is
Well, don't forget, yeah, and I forget to mention, Aries is about being brave. Aries is about being bold. Aries is about taking
yeah,
initiative.
yeah.
And that's a solar plexus color right there. So it's like, and the solar plexus is where we're very empowered by the divine and empowered by the chi energy, the source energy. So it's like they get stepping into their power, stepping into their confidence, trusting, believing in, trusting in everything more. I'd be curious to see what happens to you. I know you have a Taurus moon.
Yeah, me and Misha. Yeah, we both do.
Oh, wow.
So we're
Fascinating.
both getting a little dose of something.
Yeah. I mean, it's a wild card with this Uranian Jupiter conjunction, but I think it's super abundant. I mean, I haven't studied that deeply yet. I'm going to go do that soon, but it can be very abundant. Although, there's some people predicting the internet crash or some sort of financial crash. There's YouTube videos out there that are talking about this from the astrologers. So it's good to be wise and aware of what's going on. But I do feel on the overall for individuals, it is abundant. Very abundant.
What degree did you say that was? 20 for the
It's Uranian Jupiter conjoining, I would say I think it's 19, but I'll double check. It
it's
might be
19.
20. Yeah,
Okay.
it's 19. Oh, well, wait, Uranus currently, hang on a minute. Uranus is at 21. No, it's going to be at 21.
Okay.
Yeah, because Jupiter is going to meet with that. Now Jupiter meets it should be on the 20th. Yep, you're going to feel it earlier. You're going to feel it on the 19th, 18th, 17th. I mean, it's within orb right now. It's 3-degree orb because Jupiter right now is Jupiter right now is at 17 degrees. So on this eclipse, which is on the 8th, Jupiter is going to be within orb. It's at 19 degrees, which is 3 degrees away. We're going to give a 5-degree orb for this, I would say, or 3 degrees is more accurate, but
Okay,
because there's
so
such big trends.
so you would say if you have any points or planets that are within 3 degrees or so of that you're really going to feel this.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
What degree is your moon?
Mine is at 2
Okay.
degrees. So, but I think Misha's is in the 20s.
Ooh, whoa.
I'd have to look at his. And my son's sun is at 26 degrees. So he's on that edge.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, very
So,
interesting.
yeah, we're going to see liberation. This is liberating. This is outbursting, freedom, expansion.
Yeah,
So
I'm looking at Misha really quick because I was looking at him. I was looking at his chart as it relates to this earlier today. Yeah, oh, his moon is at 19. So his sun is
Woo!
20, but his moon is
Holy
19. I knew it was close.
He might suddenly become recognized. He may suddenly get some sort of fame or some sort of recognition. It could be that this happens, that we've been predicting for him for a while, and you.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Very
Yes.
interesting. Okay. So Gemini, what's
All
going on
right.
with them?
The Gemini, you are brilliant. Gemini, super smart people. They are, all of them. Very mutable, though. They're very hard to get them to make a decision, but they're pretty smart. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, let me get to Gemini.
We still love you, Dan,
Yeah.
our Gemini pal.
It's so funny because Dan was asking me a question the other day. He was doing some sort of pictures he was putting together, like he wanted to put them up on his wall, and he was coming, and we were at a coffee shop, and he was looking, which one should I buy, right? And he's doing all that, and I'm like, oh, how about you do this and you do that, and you go this way, and you choose these 3 and put these 3, and he went, okay, great, and he put those ones back and he got the other one. He did
Oh my God.
the exact opposite. I can't wait for him to see this. I was like, okay, I'm glad I helped. All right.
Well, I think you did. You told him exactly what not to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's helpful.
I know, it's funny. Anyway, okay, so okay, Gemini, 11th house. Wow. Okay. So this is very much the energy of your community, people that are around, not around, that's 3rd house, people that are around you, but your community, your tribe, social media, recognition. It's also can be publishing, that house. Lucky, it's a really nice house of gains. It's really good for Gemini, this eclipse. And then you've got that Jupiter Uranus conjunction in your 12th house, which is crazy. So that could be like crazy. It could be like you suddenly leave or travel, or some sort of release of karma in that story. Don't forget the moon. Here's what's interesting is after this eclipse, the moon moves on to that, like the next day or the second day. So you're going to see some big activations occurring like 2 days after the eclipse as well, just so everybody knows that. So yeah, so for Gemini, sudden breaking through of a tribe group. And remember, it's retrograde Mercury, so people from the past, tribe group from the past, family, not family, but people that are your true tribe that you may have lost connection with, that you have gone other ways from, come back. It's social media networking. It also, even though it is the Mercury retrograde, an eclipse in your 11th house suddenly does change your entire people around you. Like you suddenly have a new group of friends. You suddenly have a new social peer, that you leave an old peer, a social group, and you come into another. And I can see that happening to certain Geminis, because perhaps some of them are not as spiritual, or you're evolving into a more spiritual group of people, or people that are more like-minded, soul-minded, like you share soul connections with. So there's going to be a big, now a crisis could happen if you have a website or you have a social media account. It could either go really big or it could go kaboom, collapse. It gets hacked or it gets shut down or something. But if that happens, it's because you're supposed to start a new one and do it better. So it could be a crisis in your 11th house. There could be a fallout with a particular group of people. And so that could play out. but mostly I would say in the 11th house is a very benefic house. So it's mostly very positive for Gemini. I'm trying to think of any other sort of karmic lessons around it, because you have Taurus in that. Well, Gemini, with that Taurus over their 12th, I would say there's a sort of a healing in a karmic past life blockage of connecting with your spiritual tribe. So this tribe comes in, their very past life destiny opens up that was planned, I would say, for Gemini.
Well, I feel like this flower
What do you
is
get?
so beautiful for that vibe of connecting with your past lives or other lifetime tribes. It's the pink rose, and roses are one of the highest vibrational flowers, if not the highest vibrational flower. And it says, let your inner beauty shine. And the message is everything about you is perfect. And so I feel like too, Geminis can waffle, they go back and forth about what they think about things, how they feel about themselves, what they think about their future, what they feel like is their destined path. And if you see this, it's almost like, to me, it's this circular nature, but it comes back into the center point, the truth of who you are, the beauty of who you are, and then expanding out from there as they engage with the world and they meet the people in their life, and they have the interactions that guide them and direct them to where they go next. And I don't know, this really, to me, is very sweet, it very peaceful. There's a calming nature to it, and one where it feels like they're being gently guided. And yeah, I don't know, just it's sweet. It feels sweet to me.
And that energy does feel like it spirals into the center. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
Gemini are going to be similar ego because it's an air energy. They're very mental. So it's sort of like the unraveling in that picture. This is an unraveling of the heart type of eclipse, because we're unraveling the things that we did that went against our heart or went against.
That's like, whew, feel that.
And that picture really kind of says that to me.
Yeah. Cancer, let's see what they have to say. Talk about the heart.
I'm excited.
Cancerians with their big heart.
Even though I have it squaring my Mercury, and I can feel it, because when you get a Mercury square, you don't sleep well. You get very racy thinking. Your fear-based thinking, internal dialogue is going to be amplified. So I got to turn that down. Boy, I have anxiety. I very rarely have this bad anxiety attacks or mental, but I just like freaked out about nothing. Like, it was so ridiculous yesterday because I couldn't find my checkbook. So I suddenly thought I lost my checkbook and someone took all my money out of my account. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I was like freaking out trying to find my checkbook. But it's also weird that I can't find my checkbook. Like, I don't lose things like that. I'm very paranoid about this. So anyway,
well, that's revealing something to you, Madeline. There's something more to that.
I know. So I've got to go figure that out. But basically, because I went on this road trip and I had so much stuff. And I remember when I got back, I was exhausted and I just carried all the stuff in and I just grabbed all these things and I just piled them in my room. So now I'm like, what did I do? But anyway, yeah, interesting. So yeah, I mean, with that Mercury retrograde in your 10th house, is a very good career energy for Cancer rising. You're going to have, it's interesting because I will say something has happened to me. I've always trusted astrology or believed in it, but this eclipse is making me as a Cancer, and I have to ask other Cancers if they feel the same way, an even stronger confidence about what their career is. Stronger. I see the importance of it even more because I know that we need more spiritualism in our world. So I feel like, wow, no, I got to take on this project. I got to get serious about it. So Cancers are going to get very serious because remember, Saturn is in the picture, and I'm redoing my website. That's the other thing I'm doing today. So, we're getting very, we're maturing. Remember, there's a Saturn element to this eclipse. Saturn in your 9th house. We're maturing. We're taking things seriously. We're growing up. We're taking on our careers as a more important thing. And remember, this is an action-based. I had somebody I read for it go, but I had to do all the work. And I did, this is the eclipse where we do it. We're the initiators. We take movements and then we have really good results. So, and intuitively, I just said, I've got to get this website up. I've got, like, my intuition is just kicking in about it. So it's like, cancers are taking their careers more seriously. The ego, it, the ego in me was like, oh no, I shouldn't be out there and big and strong and be a personality. There's millions. My teachers, my teachers are like, oh no, they deserve to be on YouTube and doing all that stuff, not me. Or there's some sort of, because remember, Chiron is a little bit of the imposter syndrome where you feel like, well, maybe I'm not as qualified, or maybe, but now we get through that, because that's ego. That is ego. That is not stepping forward and doing divine work, or doing divine mission, or seeing your purpose in this, which is your purpose of creation, which is to improve humanity. So if this is where your career, or Cancer are here to devote themselves to a career that will improve humanity, there's an awakening to the importance of what they're here to do. And most Cancers are going to be psychics, spiritualists, healers, mothering, nurturers, and that is an energy that is important now more than ever. So Cancers, step forward into your career, be the boss. You're going to get an increase. Opportunities are going to come up. Your confidence is going to show in response to, you're going to get responses that reflect your new sense of confidence, the belief in yourself, all of that good stuff. It's good. Now let's go crisis. Let's make sure we're not being too sugar-coated here. Let's talk about crisis. You could get fired. Very good chance you lose your job, but that's because you're in a fear-based, security-based choice job. You're not supposed to be there. You're preventing your expansion as a soul, your soul expansion. So prepare ye for potential crisis in the work environment, which is okay, because that you are going. Most people, when I say this doesn't look good for your career, they go, that's fine, I want another job. So you'll be ready for it. But it might be scary. You feel afraid. You're like, where am I going to get money? How am I going to be supported? I'm telling you, an eclipse in your 10th house and you lose a job, you've got a much better one around the corner. Much. So now we've got the Uranus-Jupiter conjoining in your 11th house, which is a big deal because that is emancipating you. So that's your social media site could increase, which would be great. You're basically a new tribe coming in liberates you. But these are financially liberating energies too. So this is great. You've got this all in the house of spiritualism. You've got Saturn, Mars, house of spiritualism. You've got the eclipse in your 10th house, and then you've got that 11th house conjunction coming, Jupiter, Uranus, rapid expansion, rapid change in career, in your work, feeling confident, believe. And can't you tell I feel that way, right?
So if anyone's wondering what it looks like, just take a look at Madeline. Yeah. There you go.
Because I'm studying so much astrology right now, because I'm learning so much that I just become more and more of a believer in it. And I just know it's so important. And I feel like I'm telling everybody, So yeah.
But I'd like to just say one thing about that based on our conversation we had before we went live. And that is the knowledge and the wisdom that we glean from study and from, looking at charts and all of that is awesome. And using that information and wisdom in conjunction with our own experience is where the true wisdom comes in. And not relying on a system or a structure exclusively, also trusting our own instincts, our own intuition, because I work in astrology but also work with other systems, and there are parts of it where it sort of flows, but then there are other times it's not quite exactly as the energy presents. It shows up slightly differently, and my own instinct says, well, I can't do that because this is what the stars say. And always, always, always follow your own inner guidance. If it doesn't go the quote unquote right way, that was an experience that you had to have in order to have your own inner knowing, your own inner wisdom from the experiences that you have and the knowledge that you discover along the way.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great ways to work with astrology is, because some people think it's outside of you and we want to really be connected within. A lot of times the astrology helps you understand clearer what you intuitively feel. And then you can work with it with a confidence. And astrology is extremely accurate. I mean, I can't believe how accurate it is. It shocks me.
Yeah.
So following the stars is basically following the energy. And you're right. The language is, you can look up tons and tons of teachings and writings about it all, but the language of astrology is very simple. You don't need to know a lot. You can just know Jupiter's in this house for me. Saturn is in this house for me. Things are going to be repressed, a little heavier, a little harder for me in these areas, in this time. And it's like, you're just working with the cosmic energy, intuitively aligning with consciousness of what is happening. So, and it basically will save you. It, in my opinion, it saves us.
I mean, if nothing else, it can potentially make life easier because you have another lens through which to see and experience life, and potentially make different choices because you know some further information, which is why Madeline and that's why we do these.
Well, it raises, yeah, and astrology basically gives us higher consciousness. It raises our consciousness so we can walk through what's happening with a higher consciousness, which then gives us better results.
So let's do the flower for Cancer, unless you had something else you wanted to say. Yeah. Okay. So we have, for Cancers, we have the camellia. You are lovable, and everything about your true self is beautiful. And I feel like with, I don't know, those that I know that have Cancer in their chart in any prominent position, there's this, I don't know, it feels like there's a second guessing of themselves a lot of the time, that it's like sometimes they feel like they got it and that they really are lovable, and other times they're not so sure, and
they're
they see all
sensitive.
they see all
They're
their
very
stuff.
sensitive.
So just a reminder, and this just, again, this is another very sweet flower, I think. And we also have the yellow here, a reminder to me
Solar
of
plexus.
exactly, that inner power that you carry. So really, really
Yay.
awesome. Okay.
All right.
Ready for Leo? I'm ready for Leo.
Leo, guys, let's take a look at Leo here. Yep. Remind me, you're Leo ascendant or sun?
Sun. 9 degrees. So it's a little outside of my sun orb.
So yeah, so this is going to happen for you guys in your 9th house. And then you're going to have Saturn in your 8th.
Fifth house? 5th house?
8. I'm getting 9th house for Leo.
For the eclipse?
Aries, do you have Aries over your 9th?
Okay. I don't know. I keep going.
So yeah, for Leo, Aries covers your 9th house. So what's happening? A complete and utter spiritual shakeup, a complete and utter change of opinion, complete and utter spiritual awakening. It can come with a big upset where you've had a strong belief about something and it just completely collapses. So there could be some sort of a crisis. Like, let's say a Leo is in a relationship that isn't right, because maybe somewhere else in their chart shows it's a relationship transit, and it ends, and then they just have this big mind like collapse, thinking, gosh, I thought that was the person, or something big. I mean, we're talking a really big turnaround are you feeling anything like that? Because you'd be feeling it by now. A shift. You may wake up to importance of spiritualism. You may see something. I read something. I don't have Leo in my chart, but I read something about the Kali Yuga and how the world's shifting, and we're coming out of Kali Yuga, and the next era. Kali Yuga is the worship of false gods, or the worship of false prophets, which are celebrities, kings, people with a lot of money or whatever. So what's the opposite of that is the spiritual, is the balanced, the person that is both balanced spiritually and materially. And so we're leaving into the age of Aquarius is a lot of spiritualism. So we're going to get these Leos stepping into a spiritual belief, a spiritual way to walk, an awakened importance to it. Now, if you could, let's say you're very hyper religious, you've been in a religion, you may suddenly quit that religion. Like one of my astrology teachers was very into a Buddhist religion, and he's on an eclipse in his 9th house. Quit it. Quit the religion. Quit the haircut that went with the religion. Just went back to who they really were. So we're talking about a spiritual crisis, ego.
Remember, so Madeline, can I pause you one sec? I feel like I just looked at my chart because I could have sworn that Aries is over my fifth.
Let's take a look.
Fifth
And
and
you're
sixth, fifth or sixth,
are you ascendant Leo?
depending on the system.
Are you ascendant Leo?
No.
We're going with ascendant Leo.
Okay. Okay.
You're rising Scorpio, right?
Scorpio. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry. I just wanted to make sure we were on the
Yeah,
same
no, that's good for
path.
people to understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Leo puts this eclipse over your ninth house. Taurus energy, look at that for your career. Very good. Very nice.
Yep.
And then we've got this, again, we've got the spiritual energy over your eighth house. I would say this is major spiritual wake up for your Leo. Now with these spiritual planets over your eighth house, you're really clearing money, fear-based karma. I would say a fear of money gets eradicated, or fear of lack, or fear of, because this is where you become very spiritual around your money. You become cleared of fear-based karma choices, money-based karma choices. Saturn is restructuring your finances, where you become more, and it's the house of occult, it's the unseen. It's very fear energy there with Saturn transiting, makes you very scared about money. It can really create fear about your stability. So I would say there's a new belief that a spiritual awakening where you trust, and you take initiatives that you are able to, I would say, eradicate that fear, because you're going to shift from fear-based to proactivity. So you're going to be now more brave about your money, more realizing that money is here to advance everyone, for you to be able to help advance people spiritually, or to support you to take on a more, and now a spiritual path just means the path of your soul. You can be a shoemaker, craft person, but what in craft work is very spiritual, actually. So you're taking a more proactive, wakening up to your limited mind around spirituality and what your life can do. It's a breaking the limited mind is what this would be. And actually for everyone, but Jupiter that's the house of Jupiter, which is our beliefs, education, schooling, teaching, philosophy. So you're going to have this sort of ego death around what you believe is rigid, because this can be a house of rigid thinking. So you're going to release a rigidity, something that's been rigid. You open up your expansion, mind up. You might decide to learn something. You might decide to start astrology, learn astrology. Ninth house is the house of astrology. You may decide to be a leader. This is leader energy. You may take up a position of more leadership, bold, to be out there more, bold with a message, a spiritual message, or initiate some sort of modality, because the eighth house is healing. You may decide, a Leo may decide they want to be a healer modality, or they're healing their fear-based energies by being more brave and taking more proactive to be more stronger spiritually, with a spiritual belief that mitigates their fears around financing. And then they become very powerful, because you can do a lot of affirmations during these eclipses. I am Aries. It's an Aries energy. So they suddenly become very much more empowered around their money. They change, they transform in other words, they know now how to energetically and spiritually create more financial success and more financial stability, because it's all about our energy and our faith, basically. And because that's the ninth house's faith. So it's like a crash of faith and then a rebirth of faith, a rebirth of a new feeling of empoweredness and boldness that then kills the fear of that, because you become more successful because of this here. Does that make sense? It's because what happens is when you change energetically, this is an energetic shift for Leo with the eighth and the ninth and the third. So it's kind of like it's more of an attitude change, which then puts you at a higher resonancy that's less fear-based, which then attracts more abundance. Fear is the energy that blocks abundance. So there's more, that's why faith is so important. That's why Jupiter expands, and it's the energy of faith because we can only expand. If you don't believe, if you don't believe that things can happen and get better, it just doesn't, because so you have to have faith to step into the expansion. So there's more belief in themselves, more belief in what they're doing. It's a spiritual house, the ninth house too. This is very spiritual for Leo.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it is for everybody, but those are two very spiritual houses, that eighth and the ninth.
yeah, it's very interesting. And actually Leo for me is over my ninth and 10th in my natal chart. So that feels very strong and resonant for me.
Yep.
Now the other thing, Leos tend to be very social creatures. You know, we like to go out, we like to have a good time. And what I've noticed in my life personally, and that's why this card means something to me, and I have a feeling might for other Leos as well that I know, is it's the Gerber daisy. And the message has to do with balanced friendships. So I know that oftentimes Leos are also very generous of heart, very giving, and we can give. We also are natural helpers. We like to help and support and be there for people. And sometimes the balance in relationships can be lopsided. So I've been learning how to find a balance for myself to allow to receive as well, because there can be a pushing away of receiving. So to be able to allow other people to give to me, and for me to be able to receive graciously, and then be able to give to others and have them receive as well. So, and you know, one thing I like about this too is, like, I don't know, these flowers to me, they look like they're having a little party, you know, they're having a good time. There's all these different colors, they're all hanging out. And that feels like a Leo energy to me. And even with the way the petals kind of fan out, it's almost like the sun. There's the sun in the background. And again, we've got the yellow. We've got the yellow here in the center of this one. We've got a lot more pink. So there seems to be a little bit of a theme.
And I'm wearing a yellow shirt.
You are. Well, mine's like a pinkish fuchsia, but
pink. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, interesting, because the South Node is in the third house. So that's the third and ninth house axis. And this is a very mercurial communication type thing. So you might get clients or people that you've worked, people that you've worked from in the past coming back, or communications about old concepts, or coming back to an old concept around spiritualism. But it does sort of activate that third house as well, because the South Node is there. And the third house is about communication, short distance travel, people that are around you on a day-to-day, friends, siblings. So communication, a lot of talking. You may learn something new that really changes your mind through communication of friends and people. But anyway, that card kind of fits the third house, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, it really does. So, all right, marching along to Virgo.
Right.
In the 8th, correct?
What about the 8th? Say that.
Virgo in the 8th.
Oh.
Is it? Yes.
Right. You're probably right. Let me make sure.
I got all out of whack. I started counting the wrong way. So I think that's why I was confused on Leo. I don't know how I got there, but
happens.
Hopefully I'm back on track.
Okay, so yeah, for Virgo, you have this in your 8th house, which is actually kind of good. Now, obviously depends on your own chart, whether you have some negative transits going to this, like some squares and oppositions. But on the whole, this could be financially extremely good. It's a financial house. It could also be, it's a very, very sexual house. It's a relationship house. It's joint resources. Suddenly, all of a sudden, out of the blue, Virgos get into a relationship, joint financing, joint resources, put money together, and passionate, your true person from the past coming in, if you're in separation from them. And then we've got some sort of joint resources pooling together, or if you're not in a relationship, or you're in one and it's stable, you make a financial decision. You suddenly are able to refinance your property, and it comes through, and you gain outside resources. It's not the 8th house is money we gain. That's not from a job. It's not from working. So there can be some sudden windfall of finances coming in, or it could be a crisis. There could be a sudden tax return that comes in, or this is happening in April, which is tax season. So some kind of tax crisis comes in, but it makes you active, proactive to change something and fix it. You might be being taxed wrong. So you're going to be proactive, or you get a huge tax rebate. That could happen too. Or you find you have a big, massive deductions. I had an eclipse squaring my 8th house and it eradicated a debt. Sometimes you think that's a scary transit, and it really, what it means is it changes it. It goes away. So you could suddenly have an opportunity to erase a debt out of the blue. It's kind of a windfall energy potentially there. I'm thinking of somebody I know that's Virgo and Gemini, and they've got it in their 11th and their 8th. I mean, that is great. But the 8th can be challenged. So there could be a death. You could lose somebody, a family member, depending on what planets. If you have your moon there, it's possible your mother passes, or a woman, a significant woman. I had my moon in the 9th house with Saturn on it when my mother passed away. So, that, and then you've got the Pisces over your 7th house. So you've got a very long-term, either ending a very long-term relationship, very possibly ending a relationship. And you're coming into a new long-term, very long-term, Saturn in the picture, serious relationship. That is your person. And Mars is there. So you're looking at a proactivity, a lot of action in a relationship. These are relationship houses. Now, you've got that Taurus over your 9th. So again, big spiritual awakening. I know you think, well, I know a lot of people are all very spiritual. What's a spiritual awakening? No, you get it. You get it on a whole nother level. Like you get something big.
Yeah. There's so many dimensions to it, you know? I mean, I know on my life's journey, I've thought, oh, wow, look at this. This is, and I feel like that's it. And then more happens and you realize, wow, I didn't know anything. There's so much left to discover. And yeah. So yeah.
And then, one more thing I was going to say, you could get into a big conflict too with a relationship because you have Mars there, and Mars in the 7th house does tend to up the relationship conflicts, or it's action. A lot of action happens, things happen. But also I always forget that because Mars is a depositor of this eclipse. So, and it's in the 7th house. So it's a very possibly a client or work contracted situation where you very much joint resources. You get into some sort of work project with a relationship or a partnership, like a joint partnership. So yeah, what'd you get?
So interesting. We've got the pink and yellow theme again.
Oh, wow. All flowers have yellow centers.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to look back, but a lot of them. So we have the primrose, and this has to do with peer pressure in terms of making decisions. So it's like, it's a message of don't let others coerce you into a decision. So for any Virgos, if you've got a decision to make related to money or related to taking on a debt or paying off a debt or the path to do that, you might want to consider your options yourself and allow this eclipse period to reveal the answer to you instead of allowing other people to tell you, oh, that's the best thing to do, or that's the best path to take, and really just trusting yourself to make that decision for you. Because you, again, kind of going back to what Madeleine and I were talking about earlier, you know what the best path is for you, not somebody else. And even if it doesn't work out the way you expect, that it's always exactly the way it's meant to.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because we've got these energies in Pisces, and then we've got these energies in Aries. I mean, if there's not two more opposite energies, because Pisces is like no action, don't do anything. Aries is all action. So it's like, it really is taking action on the intuitive.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Where are we now? Libra.
Let me just get this out of the way. I think I can shut that window down. Okay, good. Libra, Libra, Libra risings, Libra rising. I happen to know a Libra rising. All right, so an eclipse in your eighth house of relationships. You either are ending a relationship, bye-bye, or you are transforming your relationship to another level, or you're starting a new relationship. And again, this is serious. We're talking serious energies. We're talking Saturn in the picture, and I see 129 right now, 111. Anyway, so Aries, sorry, Libras are, we've had that South Node eclipse on your ascendant. So you're releasing your unaligned ways you compromise yourself in relationships. The happy people pleasers gone away for Aries, Libra for right now. So it's very possible in that last eclipse, you stopped being a people pleaser in your relationship. And in this eclipse, the relationship goes kaboom. And it could happen out of the blue, this energies. And it would be fast. And or you quickly get into one. You've been single for a while from the previous Libra eclipse, and you are now healed. And because it's a healing energy, or you reach out and communicate to someone from your past to heal the situation. I see 333 on dance club, and you heal a relationship that is the true relationship. It's a big healing energy. Now I do know Aries rising who is in a relationship, and their relationship, I don't know if it's going to work or not, but they've been going through a lot of upheavals. And so it's possible they just have some healing to do between them, and then the relationship is restored. So if you're in your true love, these energies are going to break up non-true love relationships and put true love relationships together for Libra. These energies, if it is not love-based, soul-based, true, these energies are going to break it up. But then there is a lot of confidence and growth in the Libra with Aries over their eighth house, as far as that Chiron and that Mercury. There's a new confidence. They've busted through some sort of fear to communicate a truth. There's a lot of truthful energy in this eclipse. Revealings. We've got Pluto trining Neptune and Venus before the eclipse. So we're getting, but with that Aries over the seventh house, there's some courage. So like for instance, a Libra rising may have been in a relationship where they're not setting boundaries. Now they set boundaries. And that is something that Libra rising don't do. They're not great boundary setters. Well, Aries is all about, it's very boundary. So now they're getting the confidence to stand up and set boundaries and say, this is what I want. I'm no longer going to be the sleepy one in this relationship, just going along, getting along. This is what I want. This is where I want to live. This is how I want to do it. So they're becoming more selfish. Aries is a selfish energy. So Libra rising are being very proactive about relationships, making changes, shifting their energies around it, being confident, being what they want. Like a lot of times a Libra rising won't be who they truly are in a relationship as a way to manipulate and hold the relationship. So now it's like tough. If you don't like who I am now, you can leave. If you do, great, stay kind of vibe. But the Libra rising are no longer able to walk a false path in relationships, and so they're sort of stepping into there's a fear-based choice relationship they've been making, which now clears, and they walk more soul-based true relationship path, but mostly because they're stepping in and being truer to themselves. That's my take for Libra. They're being their more authentic them, and they're being not worried about losing the relationship in that transaction.
Well, I feel like this flower is pretty close to that energy.
Okay.
It's very pure. We have baby's breath, the start of something new. It's again, another sweet one. And it says, magnify your intentions. Choose a specific goal to work towards. So this feels like kind of a continuation of the story with Virgo in a way of, not allowing other people to make decisions for you. Libra also, it's like, don't allow other people to make decisions for you. You're following your own path. You're choosing your own goals. You're moving towards those for yourself. And you got a clean slate with this white, beautiful baby's breath. And the baby's breath too, if you think about them in a flower arranging, they're the filler flower, but without them, it doesn't feel like a full bouquet sometimes. It feels like there's something missing.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I can't help seeing wedding in that. Marriages, weddings, people getting engaged.
Yeah, that's great.
Deciding to marry somebody. Mm-hmm. Yep. Committing.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. And it is, you're right. It's the pure love. It's the dove love, the dove love.
Dove love.
All right.
All right.
Moving to Scorpio.
Scorpio.
Okay. Let's take a look for Scorpio. So Aries in your sixth house, which is challenging because that is one of the harder houses. The eighth, the sixth, and the 12th houses tend to be the more crisis type houses. So there could be a health crisis show up that you have to then quit something. This is a very powerful eclipse. So it's a very good time to quit something. If you've been trying to quit sugar or something, caffeine or something, this is a good time, or anything. If you have a drug addiction problem, anyone out there, this is the time to do it, to quit, or just a bad habit, any kind of a bad habit. So this is going to be improve your health for the long haul, for a good long time. And it may have been heavy dealing with this because of Saturn in your fifth house. Let me just take a look at that. This is a stressful house. So you may feel a upsurge of stress and anxiety hitting in the buildup, especially if you have planets there. But now what's going to happen is there's a big change, and your whole life changes on their whole life changes in all these eclipses for everybody, but your whole life changes in a day-to-day way. You have a whole new routine. You could start getting very, very busy. It's a work house. Suddenly a work thing opens up, and you've got to do, and you're very, very busy after this eclipse. Because remember, we're initiating new things, although the initiation maybe doesn't occur during the eclipse, but we're building up to initiate, maybe waiting till May to really take the new thing forward. But the awareness of what that is, the revelation of what that is. So the sixth house could be a crisis of health, or a crisis of somebody in a work environment, because it could be people that you work with, a hidden enemy, a pet could die. You could have a pet pass away. An eclipse in the sixth house, a pet you've had, or you get a new pet in this eclipse, and they're going to be with you for 30 years. Choose carefully. You'll be stuck with this pet forever. Yeah.
It's funny because Misha and I were literally just talking about that, about a pet
Really?
last night. Yeah. And I was saying no to a pet.
Yeah, you may change your mind. Who knows? Clips. You may pop across a little puppy that is so darn cute. You can't say no.
Oh
But
gosh.
anyway, yes, I know the pet thing is hard because we love them, but it's in reality, it's challenging to. So anyway, so we are with Chiron there, and also something comes up that, let's say a health issue shows up. We've got, or you've had a health issue, and then we get some really great healing. This is powerful healing for the potential is there, and also communication involved with stress. So words that haven't been said that have been stressing you out, you may have a sudden outburst because it's been building up in you, and so there's an outburst, but that's been making you sick because you aren't communicating. I tell a lot of people I read for, if you don't communicate this to somebody, you're going to get sick. And they're like, no, I'd rather not communicate. I'd rather not communicate because it's emotionally challenging, like to parents or something. You got to tell them something. I say, if you don't tell them, you're going to get sick. 2 weeks later, she called me and says, you were right. I got sick because I didn't want to talk about it. So, so we're talking about opening up, communicating, releasing stress, breathing out that energy so that you can then become much healthier. And ending, you might quit a job. That's a job house. That's not healthy for you. And a day-to-day practice that's not healthy for you. And then you have a new situation, a new work, or a new routine. Definitely a new routine and new busyness for sure.
Okay, so we have the Snapdragon. You'll notice we've got yellow, we have orange, we have pink. We got a little bit of everything. And the message is release all anger. You were literally just talking about this, Madeline. And the other part of this is don't give power to negative words by speaking them. Speak from your higher self and make communication peaceful and loving. And I've noticed this for myself with a lot of anger surfacing that needs an outlet. It needs a place to go. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm screaming at somebody. It just is allowing that energy to flow. We've talked about this on past cosmic chats, whether that's taking a walk or punching a pillow or whatever. And then the words we speak. I mean, I know a lot of us like to talk about all the strife in our life and the problems, and and to a certain degree, that's important to do in order to express that, and in order to maybe bounce it off of somebody because you're not really sure what to do or how to handle it. And that's very helpful. But when we regurgitate the same story over and over and over and over and over again, we're anchoring in what we don't want.
Yeah, that's the sixth house. What we do on a day-to-day level that determines our health and our wealth. What we do on a day-to-day. Yep.
So that was
Interesting.
quite interesting. Yeah. And just
right.
just so you know, Madeline, we have a kind of a hard stop at 5. So for the other, our
Okay.
last
How
4,
much?
just keep it in mind. About
Okay.
20 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, well, good. Okay, I can zoom through here. So we're on Sagittarius, correct? Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Geez. Nice eclipse for Sagittarius over their fifth house. So you may have a falling out with a certain friend or relationship that was superficial. Fifth house can be superficial kind of sex or superficial flings or romances. They're fun and playful, but they don't have a lot of depth or not long term. So anything like that will crash away and go bye-bye. And then you meet a new friend, and that becomes your person. That becomes a new relationship. What else? It's very much a relationship energy. It could transform a friend into a more serious relationship. I think I just said that. But with the fifth house eclipse with Chiron there, you're healing a friendship. You're healing an important friendship that's going to last a long term. You're working something out. Now it's also the house of creativity and projects. So you suddenly have a friend coming in, or collaboratives, because sometimes when I see planets in the fifth house, it's collaboration energy. So a creative project that you're collaborating with opens up. A friendship is healed, so you can then collaborate. Or you heal inside you from a childhood wound, because it's the fifth house, which then empowers you to be more able and bold and initiative in friendships and a creative project. A talent. If you're an actor, that's an acting house. You could get a role. You suddenly get a role. You could act. What else can I say? Let me take a look here. Communication from a friend coming back, retrograde, Mercury retrograde. Communication from a friend coming back from the past, coming in and talking to you and wanting to initiate a creative project or a co-collaborative, or a relationship, just getting into a partnership long term. Now, if we went through a crisis, I would say a possible crisis with friends, or a creative project ends that you've been doing, this ego base. It's not really your destiny. So the real creative project can come in.
Could it also relate to children? Like an issue with one of someone's kids?
Thank you so much. You could get pregnant. And if you are pregnant and it's possible you miscarry, if you do, it is better. Another child is better. The next one will be better. So yes, pregnancy, you could suddenly get pregnant. Absolutely. And it could really, of course, that's one thing that will upheaval your life and change your life completely. So yeah, these are life-changing things that totally.
Well, and even if you do carry your pregnancy to term and have the baby, it's a life-changing either way.
Yeah, I would think mostly this would be to a pregnancy that goes full term because of the Saturn element. So you're stuck with a kid for 30 years. You really are, as you know, mother.
Yeah, I mean, in some cases,
longer, but you're really kind of on duty for a long thing. Yeah, at least 25 years.
You're never not a parent.
Yeah.
Just bottom line. Okay, so we have the orange lily, and again, I feel like lilies are another one of those that remind me a lot of spring. The Easter lily, we just had Easter for those who celebrate Easter yesterday. And this, even though it says it's orange, to me, it looks very yellow. So again, we've got carrying that solar plexus energy forward here. And this reminds you to uplift your thoughts and to focus your intention on your blessings. So there might be some challenges for you, but all those challenges are actually blessings in disguise, and to do your best to keep your vibes high, keep your energy up, even if things aren't going exactly as planned with your project or maybe with a pregnancy, there's a divine plan in place. There's a divine order that is happening. And if you can remember that and stay in that frame of mind, it may not take away whatever's happening, but maybe will lessen the burden a bit. So
yeah, it's interesting because that color of that was all yellow. And what's interesting is the fifth house is the house of Leo, which is very much yellow energy, and it's the solar plexus. So it's almost like Sagittarians are really coming into their power and sort of like exploding out of them a little bit. And it's a house of joy and fun and play. So
Yes.
I think it's good.
Good times. All right. And then Capricorn, who can have
Cappies?
fun, but they're very
Serious.
yes.
Yes. Well, they've got Uranus, Jupiter conjunction in their fifth house. So they're going to be liberated from that seriousness and finding some kind of joy. And then they've got Aries in their fourth house. So we're talking moving. I know a rising sign Capricorn who has a really bad transit in this eclipse to their fourth house. And I don't want to tell him, but I think he's going to be moving. So yeah, moving, falling out, or just say, should we say like taking the courage to do something, being courageous to step up and invest. Like for instance, let's say you're living in somewhere that's you're just living there because it's convenient and you got a good deal and it just showed up and you grabbed it. But now you're going to take initiative to find the right place that you can stay in for the long haul. You're going to be settling somewhere. And so you could have this person has roommates. There could be a roommate situation that crashes and burns the argument, but then you're liberated. You get out, you go. You are going to make new friends with the Uranus Jupiter conjunction there in your fifth house. So new liberations of friends and people you meet. Open your life up completely, but there's a really good chance you have a crisis in a living situation. Let's say for example, with the water Pisces stuff, there's a water leak, a water thing happens, so you move, or you just feel financially other things are happening in your chart that give you a financial boost. You can afford now to move. Capricorns are doing much better now. Saturn is in a really good nakshatra. Saturn is in pretty good energy, even though it is an accident energy that needs to be watched. It's this eclipse is accidents by force outside of ourselves. A force comes in. So fourth house, what else could we say? Earthquake, with that Uranus Jupiter conjunction, we could see an earthquake there. What else? It's a crisis situation. It could occur in your living situation that moves you, that makes you move. A mother could pass. Mothers could pass. A mother could move in with you. I think I'm kind of looking at all of that. But you're going to take initiation to move and change your living situation. I mean, you can't have this powerful of an eclipse in your fourth house without there being some kind of move. So.
Well, and it could also be related to movement or a healing around ancestry as well, because it is fourth house, because I mean, I think about my son. He literally he moved a few months, last year. So he's not moving, but I know that I'm doing a lot of work around some ancestral healing. And so I feel like that is creating some movement in terms of how that will affect him and his family. And he's a Capricorn sun. And then,
you could decide to do work on your house, things like that. But just if you don't move, there could be some sort of sudden change in your living situation. Someone could move in, something big. Yeah.
So for the flower, we have another yellow flower called the wattle. And the message is laughter. And what I love about this is when I was thinking about the Capricorns that I know, they all have very infectious laughs. So every time I hear them laugh, it makes me laugh. Not because their laugh is funny, but just because it's so joyful. There's this, I don't know, there's an ease to it. It comes from deep within them. And it says, uplift yourself and those around you through laughter. And so I feel like, especially with all that Capricorns have been through, to remember to find the moments of joy, to laugh more, and again,
with Jupiter in your fifth, that would be the energy. Absolutely. More fun.
And I mean, that's part of, it's like Capricorns are very much about hard work and get her done, which is great because we need that. But there's a balance that also needs to take place of having some fun and letting your hair down. And it doesn't have to be about work. It doesn't have to be about productivity. I mean, I have my North Node in Capricorn. So I find myself falling in that trap sometimes too, of feeling like, oh, I can't sit here. I got things to do. I need to get up and I need to go. I need to go do it. And
Well, this is interesting because your ruling planet is Saturn, and Saturn is in Pisces in the fifth house. So there's some sort of letting go, releasing, not taking things so seriously, like you say.
Mhm.
And Jupiter's, sorry, what am I saying? What am I saying? Jupiter's in, I'm sorry. Saturn is in your third house, and Jupiter is in your fifth house, which is where the conjunction is going to happen. But actually, Saturn in the third house is a slightly lighter energy too. It is mercurial house.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it looks like movement and friendships and joy and fun and releasing a seriousness and having more joy and fun. But Saturn being in your third house, there is something also more spiritual happening to Capricorns. They're probably the least spiritual. It's a very material structure, 3D type of thing. So now they're getting a little bit more fluid, more flow, more relaxed, more joy. So yeah, that resonates.
And I think they're also a lot more ready for the
The karma's
spiritual
cleared.
support
Yeah.
to come in, and there's a curiosity around it as well. I mean, one of my, soul sisters, she's totally on board and game, but she's also now coming into it with a bit of a more like a formal approach to it, and opening herself up in all these other ways. And then, of course, I've got Misha, who is open to it because I kind of look at this and here's that,
Yeah.
but I love it. I'm just so tickled whenever he sees numbers, takes screenshots of numbers, and he's like, what does this mean? Or look at
Oh,
this. And
interesting. Haha. There you
yeah,
go.
yeah, it's pretty cute. And my son too. I mean, he and I were having a conversation, and he had a very spiritual approach to something that could have been very da 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 da. And it's fascinating to see how we're all evolving and growing and changing in
Well, what's
relation to each other.
interesting is, you being taking forward steps in your pursuits of understanding spiritualism and finding wisdom in all of that and doing what you do is obviously wearing off on the people around you. And it's what I tell people a lot of times. They're like, no, they're not into this. They think it's weird or whatever. And I just say, don't worry, just keep going and they'll start to see. And so, it's
Yeah,
good.
it is. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Aquarius.
All right. Let's take a look at Aquarii. Okay, so you guys, your lives are about to completely change because you have the Jupiter conjunction. You're ruled by Uranus, and that's happening for Aquarius. So Taurus is in your fourth house. So again, I do know an Aquarius who's probably going to move. So yeah, we're looking at radical shifts and changes and move, something occurring in your fourth house, changing your life radically in the moving department. And then we've got the Aries in your third house. So this is third house eclipses are like, be very careful. Aquarians, do not drive. If you don't know your chart, I know Aquarians that have planets in their third house. You don't know your chart, don't drive. If you might, this is accidental prone with the third house. It's the Mercury house. So just at least a day. But now here's a couple things that could happen. You get information or communication that really surprises you and changes your life. Or because it's that Mercury retrograde in there. So you're going to hear from somebody, it's communication that completely changes your life, or you're the one who communicates and completely changes other people's lives and your life through communication, right? So, but it's also the house of work. So there could, and it's like short distance travel. So, and it's also a busy house. It's a Mercury house. So it's like, all of a sudden you get very busy, hear information, you start a new job, you start a business, or you start a website, you start working on your website. It's funny because I have Saturn in Aquarius and I'm working on my website. So it's third house stuff, communication, you start a Instagram feed, you start a business. it's with Mercury there retrograde. It's something from the past coming in that needs to be resolved, communicated, a lot of communication happening with that eclipse in the third house. And it would be to, most likely it'll redirect your life in some significant way. And so, again, your day-to-day people, a lot of times eclipses in the third house, you also have an eclipse in your seventh house or something aspecting your seventh house, which means you change the people that are around you. Like if you move with that Uranus and Jupiter conjunction in your fourth house, suddenly your neighbors are all different. If you get in a relationship, you're suddenly hanging out with all the people they know and hang out with their siblings. You know what I mean? So it's like, and vice versa. So it's like changes that are occurring in your surrounding day-to-day life, people that are normally around you completely change. You could get into a really bad argument with someone or a sibling or a neighbor or something, and then you move or they move or something shifts. So if we look at crisis potential, information comes in that makes you have to move, or you could get in conflict with a sibling. I know sometimes people with eclipses in their third house, they don't talk to their sibling anymore. They fall out. But then this sibling may have been really negative and they're not really healthy, and you're just always interacting with them because they're your sibling and you feel like you should, but then you discover they're just, or you heal a relationship with a sibling that you haven't been talking to because of Chiron there through communication, or a neighbor or somebody. Go ahead.
Okay, 2 cards. Guess what colors they are?
Yellow.
Yellow, pink, and white.
Wow. You
It's
know,
pretty.
if you look online and you look up the colors for each zodiac sign, you want to know something really interesting. Aries is pink. Pink is one of the colors for Aries, because red and usually people that are very successful wear pink. Wearing pink is a really high vibrational and attractive color. So a lot of Aries are successful because they'll wear pink. Anyway,
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely in the forefront for this reading. So we have the yellow rose, which the message is balance, work, rest, and play. And you were talking about that at the very top of the Aquarius read. And then we have the sweet pea, which is your wishes are coming true. So remembering, I think for Aquarians too, they haven't had it tough like Capricorn, but they've had some bumps. And
Yeah, well, they have Pluto now in their house. So yeah.
so it's been a little bit tough. So just know that everything that's happening is moving them towards their destiny. It's moving them towards their divine future. So,
yep. And with that bright yellow color there, it's like, again, it's very much that solar plexus energy of
yes,
self-confidence. Maybe the Aquarians suddenly believe, because they've got Pluto on their ascendant, they have to stick up for themselves with Pluto on their ascendant. So suddenly they're able to really speak authentically and true and be bold and speak up and have the confidence. And I know Aquarius rising who has her Chiron in the third house, and she can't speak right now. She's like completely lost her voice.
Oh, wow.
So there's some healing around communication, big time healings around communication, and how we aren't speaking our authentic truth.
Yeah.
Now becomes eclipse, and we now speak different, All
All
right.
right. Let's wrap it up here with Pisces.
All right. Last one. So
Second
Pisces.
house.
Yeah. Second house eclipse, one way of making money goes bye-bye and a whole new way comes in. And with all these Saturn and all these planets in your first house, Mars and Saturn in your first house, you are maturing, growing up, taking on more responsibilities, being much more serious, taking yourself more seriously, learning a lot, paying the repercussions of some of your not so serious choices. A lot of shame around past things happening right now, or regret is another word to use. So now with this Aries in the second house, is this renewed, an old way of making money goes by, and a new renewed way that is exciting, inspiring. It's more soul aligned. And it's an opportunity that comes in that could solidify your income for a good 35 years. I had an eclipse in my second house, and my alimony went away. But then I was like freaked, but then I started earning money doing this. So it was like I much prefer earning my own money. So, so you're looking at an old way of making money going away and a new way coming in. Or let's say you're a talent. Most Pisces are talented and in the arts. So they suddenly discover a latent talent that they then explore, and they have more confidence and boldness to be a more artistic, creative talent. They believe in themselves more with Chiron there. But also with Aries in the second house there, bold initiatives in a new way of making money that will last you a good 25 to 30 years. But also there's a confidence and a gutsiness to doing something and earning money in a way that that involves a talent that because the second house is something you possess. It's money, it's your job, it's possessions. You could get an inheritance and suddenly get left a lot of money. That's also with the eighth house as a potential too. But increase of possessions too. But mostly a liberation of an old way of making money that's been out of alignment. So, and also a big one with Chiron there is how you value yourself, not valuing yourself. A lot of times eclipses in the second house show you how low your ego is about you. How you can act really ego this and really ego that and be like confident or seem confident. But with that Chiron transiting your second house, you're really learning how you don't really value yourself, how you're not charging what you deserve, how you have low self-esteem. A lot of Pisces energy comes with that. So an increase of self-esteem. Talk about that. I bet we're going to get some yellow cards here.
This card actually is like, bam. It
No
really
way.
is.
Really?
It's the bird of
Wow.
paradise. And yes, we do have orange. We also have purple. There's pink. We've got a lot of colors, and it's like, it's all these tendrils going out, reaching out. And the message to me feels more like a support for Pisces is to communicate with your angels, communicate with the loving beings around you that can support you. Though what I call this your soul spirit team. It's your team of teachers, ancestors, ascended masters, angels, guides that you don't even have to know who they are, their names or anything. You just call your soul spirit team to be with you and support you, and the exact quote unquote right ones will show up for you. And so I think it's a reminder. This is how I'm receiving this flower, a reminder to communicate and to trust that and know that you have a lot of support that can allow you to expand. Because I don't know if you're familiar with the bird of paradise, but it starts off being closed with just this kind of thick thing at the end and like one stalk, and then as it opens, it blossoms, it expands out. So yeah, just
I'm really seeing from the flowers that are coming out the importance of the Chiron placement in this transit. I really do think that this eclipse is bringing everyone into their solar plexus power and feeling with the Aries Chiron, we're really healing our unempowered selves, where we have been unempowered in our lives. And so it's beautiful, that part of the eclipse,
It really is. It really is. I mean, connecting in with I don't even want to say that. It's almost like accessing, knowing that we have that power when it's often covered up by anxiety and fear and doubt and insecurity, to take a deep breath.
I mean, this is a collective healing. And I'm sure after this eclipse, everybody's going to seem different. Everybody that we know is going to look different. They're going to be different because they've had some sort of massive, empowering transformation occurring, because of Chiron in Aries. And what is Chiron Aries? Chiron is the wounded healer. So now we become empowered to step forward and change the world and do what we're here to do. And that Chiron, that empowerment is like, I feel it and I see it around in society, and we're stepping up because it's the age of Aquarius and the people are retrieving our power. So it's a sort of a collective healing for the people, which is great. Very good.
Very, very good. So go soulful, everybody. And that's the way.
Spiritualism, your soul, water, ebb and flow, meditate, relax.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling anger and and conflict energies rise in you or aggression, you do want to put it out. Use water. Water is like spiritualism, so use water to put it out.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
it's not going to be good to be too aggressive in these energies, you know.
well, the same too with the flower energies, you know, using one of these mists, these aura mists that really just bring you back into a state of balance. They've got such a beautiful scent. I have a discount code underneath. I don't make any money off of this. I just know that they work and I love them. And I have a relationship with them where they're offering a discount for people, but I get nothing. This is not an affiliate link or anything like that. It's just something I know is so helpful.
Just to
Truly.
say, this river in this picture is interesting that I put it up, because that is where the Pisces energy is right now. All the planets are in a river flow sign. So you want to go river. You want to go water.
Flow, baby, flow.
Ebb and flow. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well,
All
thank you,
right.
Madeleine, for
My pleasure.
your
Good luck,
wisdom.
everybody.
As always, thank you everyone for joining us, for staying
Give us
with us.
live. Give us
Yes.
live.
Like,
And
subscribe, comment, follow both of us on both of our channels and pages. And if you're looking for some assistance or support, you know how to reach us. The information's below. And thanks for being with us. And we'll see you here in a couple of weeks. We'll let you know when the next date is as soon as we nail it down. All right, everyone. Thanks again.
goodbye.
See you soon.
I didn't record it, so you'll have to send